give me one shot here on a blue chip stock, believe me, Kevin, the only problem you're gonna have is that you didn't buy more.
Nobody knows if the stock is gonna go up, down, sideways, or in circles.
What's going on, NBA draft fans? Your boys are back, the Wolves of Ball Street, your favorite draft analyst's favorite draft analyst. My name is Corey Sullivan. I am here, as always, with my co-host, Albert Garbage Time Gim, and this is the NBA Draft Show on the No Ceilings NBA podcast feed. Albert, how are we doing on this fine Thursday evening?
I'm excited to record, Corey, but unfortunately for me, I have some bad news. I went to get a haircut today, as you can see. Hair looks great. Yeah. Went to get a haircut. The lady who cuts my hair, she's been cutting my hair for 3-4 years now. So she's seen me through my journey in my 30s. So she started cutting my hair today, and she's like, "Oh, you know, I want to let you know, I'm noticing a lot of gray." And that hurt my feelings. That sent me into existential crisis. I started to wonder about a lot of things in my life. So that was sad. And I'm sad that I have a lot of gray hairs now, but I'm excited because we're recording about guys that we really like. So hopefully this will rejuvenate my soul, and then less gray hairs will be sprouting out of my head is what I'm hoping for today.
Welcome to the club. You know, I've got some myself, but really the issue is not the grays in my hair yet. It is the gray in my beard.
Ooh. And
it's not so much because, you know, I feel like you could pull off the gray hair thing, but when it's in your beard, especially the way that it's coming in my beard, it starts to look patchy, and then it just looks like you don't have any hair in that specific area is the problem.
This is the most washed beginning of a podcast ever.
But Albert, I don't think that you should be focusing on the situation with the gray hair. What I think you should be focusing on is that the New York Knicks are up 2-0 in their series against the defending champion Boston Celtics with 2 wins on the road.
Corey, anyone who would listen in my vicinity, I was like, before the series started, I was like, you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if we got swept. Would not be shocked if we lost in 5. A little gentleman sweep. I was okay with it. I was resigned to it. I was just excited that we beat the Pistons the way that we did. But suddenly we're up 2-0 going to MSG, and the cheapest ticket in the building is going to be $1 trillion. The building's going to be rocking. I really wish I was there. I can't believe we're in the position that we're in. I cannot believe the way that the Celtics are playing, but I am on cloud 9. I feel incredible, and I don't know what to think or what to expect, but I'm trying to be a realist at the same time. I'm all over the place. So, yeah.
You know, I think that these are probably the biggest games that will be played in Madison Square Garden. I mean, since the 90s, I don't know. I mean, those Carmelo versus the Heat teams, it was like cute, but I don't think anybody really was under the impression that Knicks team was going to beat the Heat's team. You know, I don't know, maybe if I'm remembering that wrong, and look, the Celtics have, it feels like they've been dominating time of possession here with the lead. But at the end of the day, to pull off those kind of wins, bringing that kind of momentum to home games on, going into that Saturday, 3:30 at Madison Square Garden, $700 entrance ticket being reported. It's going to be something. But you know what? We have ourselves a fun little Saturday ourselves, you know, as I travel to LA to meet up with you and Sir Nicholas. So, more on that coming next week. We'll break that down tonight on the NBA Draft Show on the No Ceilings NBA podcast feed. We are going to go through a little My Guys starting 5, where Albert and I are just going to break down the guys who we just enjoy watching. It might be irrational. In some cases, at least for me, it definitely is a little irrational. But these are the guys that we enjoy, that we think there's something there, and we're willing to let it rock with these guys. We're going to invest in these guys because we just enjoy them. So I think the way we are breaking it down is we're kind of trying to keep it somewhat positional. where, we're going to do 2 guards, 2 wings, or 2 forwards, and a big man. And Dirty Dancer says Coop shouldn't be pickable. We all know. Yeah, he wasn't on my list.
Same.
I think Coop is great. He's the number 1 pick in the draft, quite clearly, quite obviously. But a lot of, I think what we're talking about today is vibe based. Stats FC might be upset by some of these picks. I don't know. I don't care. So we're just going to have some fun with this one because we got like a month and a half left of the draft. We're going to get real deep into the nitty gritty. We got film sessions going on, coming back. We're going to get in the weeds. We're going to get down and dirty. But today we want to have a little bit of fun. So Albert, I am going to let you rock with the first pick, and break down your guy. Tell us the position and who you're starting it off with.
The NBA, the modern NBA, loves wings. I know like a lot of our superstars are bigs. Nikola Jokic, the artist formerly known as Joel Embiid. Teams like the bigs, but also wings are very, very valuable. The New York Knicks have the Wingstop brothers in OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. So I want to start off with a wing. That's how I want to start my squad of vibes. And my wing is a guy that I am... Actually, Corey, I'm really excited to have this conversation because I need your insight. I need you to help me to kind of ground myself. I understand that I am what I am, right? People give me crap all the time. Hey, man, how are you credible? You had Jett Howard in your top 5. And I go, I'm credible because I'm human. And I don't really pretend to know shit. I just like what I like. And I really liked Jett Howard at the time. So I have another guy who's really high on my board. And it seems like no one else on our team has him high on their board anymore, except for you, actually. So maybe this is me and you. We're just going to take care of each other here. My guy's Liam McNeely from UConn.
Okay.
He's my first pick. I wanted to kind of extrapolate like where my brain is at right now, Corey. He's a player that I cannot quit. And I understand he did not have the freshman season that many thought that he would have. But my comp for him is a player that needed 4 years in college, ended up becoming an NBA champion, was a very effective offensive player, one of the greatest shooters the league has ever seen. I remember back in 98, I had a book about USA basketball, and this player shared a story how he became one of the greatest shooters of all time. He would be in a gym with all the lights off and would exclusively shoot with the lights off. And his rationale was, if I can hit jumpers with the lights off, when the lights are on, I'm going to be even better. I'm starting to wonder, what a buildup, huh? I'm starting to wonder if Liam McNeely is just Glenn Rice, is where my head is at right now, Corey. And I'm wondering, in this class, if you're getting a modern day Glenn Rice, what is that worth? Where do you grab a Glenn Rice, a multiple-time All-Star, one of the greatest three-point shooters ever, a guy who could absolutely demolish you in the mid-range with a face-up game, was never an excellent defender. Honestly, his game was pretty simple, right? But I'm just wondering in my brain, if Liam McNeely is some variant of Glenn Rice, what is that worth in the modern NBA? And so I just can't quit him. He's a huge wing. I believe in the shooting. I get it. He didn't shoot it well in his freshman season, but I really believe in the jumper. It is pure. Corey, I think this was about a year ago or a year and a half ago when you mentioned how you saw him live and you were like, this might be one of the best shooters I've ever seen in my life. And I remember you telling me about that, and I can't shake it. I believe in the kid. I like the size. I like the shooting. I think he's a better passer than he was able to show. I don't think he's ever going to run your offense. But if you can add a 6'8", 6'9" giant jumbo wing who can shoot the ball, is an adequate athlete, but will just overall give you become like this dynamic. Well, maybe dynamic's not the right word, but a really effective, and he's going to have some gravity to him, right? I think he's worth a lot because I think his freshman season doesn't tell the full story. And if he spent 3 years in college, I wonder what type of prospect he would become. So anyway, let me stop there and give you an opportunity, Corey, to share a little bit of your perspective. But my guy's Liam McNeely. I'm really excited to grab him here, and I just cannot quit the player.
Look, I think sometimes it's easy to overthink prospects. Big shooters, big wings. Can they bust? Of course they can. But I'm with you. I think Liam is the kind of smart, skilled, really solidly big. Like, I think he's probably going to be a legit like 6'7", 6'7.5" in shoes after he measures. I've seen him, I don't even know how many times live, like you mentioned. When I saw him, I want to say maybe it was against Lehigh last year. I'm not sure. I'd seen him a bunch of times at Montford, and I just kept thinking, like, this dude just looks like Clay. Like, he's big like Clay. He doesn't have the most creative bag like Clay. The problem is he didn't shoot like Clay this year. So all of the aesthetic bias aside, that's a hard enough comp as is. And then when you throw in the kind of shooting season that he had, where he was really up and down, really inconsistent, you do have to go, all right, let me try to recalibrate where I'm at with this player. But I'm with you. I saw him live this year a couple of times. I was really impressed every time that I saw him. Maybe I just keep catching the good games, and obviously I've watched some of the bad games, but he's also, he had a 38-10 game, this year for UConn. Like, the highs were high for him. And unfortunately, the guy that you would have hoped would have taken the leap as the upper statesman, experienced champion, now I'm going to lead the team coming for my third year, didn't take that leap, in Alex Caravan. So not only did he not take the leap, he took a step back.
Yeah.
And ultimately that affected his draft stock enough that he had to come back to school another year. Now, would he have gotten drafted if he came out? Of course. And NIL obviously changes the game there. But if he had the type of year where he was going to cement himself as a first round pick, I don't think he's going back to school. He took a step back. You look at some of the moves that the UConn roster made. Aiden Mahaney, not the guy. He just wasn't ready for that conference. I thought that could have been an interesting, pickup. It didn't work out that way. They didn't really have a creator. And now all of a sudden, Liam McNeely is forced to play a kind of role that he was ill-equipped for, leading as a freshman.
Right.
And that hurt his efficiency. Now, look, historically, Liam has not been like, a top-tier finisher. I think that, they're closer to the rim. There are some like touch issues. But like the fact that he draws contact and gets to the free throw line as often as he does, and is as effective as a free throw shooter as he is, it's like there's a lot to work with here. You mentioned the passing. I'm in on the passing. I think that like he's got some really slick, like, I'm going to come off a ball screen, or maybe even not of a ball screen, but maybe I'm coming out of a zoom, off that handoff. And now I'm kind of slowing my pace down. I'm getting guys on my hip because I'm big and strong and I'm not feeling sped up. And like, he can make crafty little reads. I think his floater was pretty effective this year. And it's just like, if you're telling me that this guy's going to be a 32% shooter his entire career, I'm going to be shocked. Like, I just don't think that the shooting season that he had is indicative of the level of shooter that he has been historically and that he will be in the future. So for me, I think there's been an overreaction to his numbers. It's not to excuse them and be like, oh, we can make excuses for the roster construction there. At the end of the day, the shots have to go in regardless of who's on his team. He can go to a team that's terrible in the NBA. There's a lot of bad NBA teams. But I think that he is going to be a pretty safe player. He's not going to be disruptive defensively, but he's big, strong. I don't think you're going to be able to like just go at him time after time after time. And maybe he doesn't come in and light the world on fire his first year in the league. Maybe not even the second year. Like, maybe we need to be patient. Maybe Jet Howard's going to be awesome next year. Who knows? Like, sometimes these things take time.
Yeah.
As the wise Tyler Rucker says. So I like that pick. I like Liam McNeely. And I'm not ready to jump ship on him. I get it. I get why. But I think there's a lot of interesting elements to his game still. And if you're telling me that he just needs to get back to the level of shooter that he had the reputation to be, I don't think that's a tough ask for me. And if he can deliver that kind of shooting at that size with some of the ancillary stuff, I think he's a good value guy.
Thank you. Thank you, Corey. No, I feel great. I feel great about it. For me, it's like I keep going back to it, and I understand like there is some film where you're just like, oh, okay, like, it isn't exactly what you want, but just that's the thing about projecting, right? Like, you're looking forward at what these guys can become, and you can't just, make final decisions on guys based off of what you've seen so far. And it was just 1 year college. And I think next year it might be, if you went back, right, I think it would have been a totally different version, maybe. I don't know. But ultimately, it's like you said, I think the size and the shooting and some of the other stuff that he can do on the floor with the IQ that he has and the field that he has, I think there's a lot to be excited for. And so I think my latest big board, I put him in, I still had him at 8. So I still have him in my top 10. Just can't quit him.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So, you know what? I'll stick with the wing since you went with the wing to start off. I'm going to go with another wing who had, I don't know if the year was up and down, because I think it was down and then up. And I think he was trending up at the right time. And this was another guy that I liked coming into the year, that I had seen in high school, and that we did a preseason pod on, I'm pretty sure. I'm still in on Carter Knox.
Oh, okay. Wow. I was not expecting that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Carter Knox a lot, because when I came into this season, my opinion of Carter Knox was really strong athlete, really physically built, good dimensions, measurements, measurables, whatever you want to call all of that. Deep bag, tough shot maker. Like, if he gets the reps, he's going to be able, I think he's going to have potentially some big scoring games. Like, Cal he'll let freshmen rock. Do you want to guess how many games that he attempted 10 shots in?
2.
On the nose. 2 games against mid-major teams at the beginning of the year. He did not attempt 10 shots again the rest of the season. So this is a kid who came in and was okay just playing a role. And by the end of the season, he was very comfortable in that role of being a tough, physical two-way wing who plays defense, knocks down open shots, attacks closeouts hard, and either finishes at the rim or draws a foul. And he was big in the tournament. And I'm like, all right, so if this is a kid who I think has the potential to still bust out some of that shot creation stuff, but now I can also see him coming in and playing a complementary role at the next level, he's actually more interesting to me now, I think, than he was at the beginning of the year, where I thought if the high end outcome isn't there, then maybe he's not that interesting. But this kid, in the last 2 months of the season, where he really got rocking and he really started feeling comfortable, had insane splits. He had a free throw rate over 50%. His true shooting was like 70% in that time span, or something. I'm pretty sure. Like, he was just really efficient in what he did. And I thought the defense was really good. He was making smart rotations. He was getting vertical at the rim. He was blocking shots. Now, the assist to turnover ratio is in the red. So we don't love that, but it did get better. And I think that he did show enough in OTE where it's like, all right, well, this kid can make some reads. So But just from a simplistic, what can this do on the wing? Like, he's a guy that I can envision playing in the NBA, in actual playoff games where the game is physical. What have we learned from these playoffs? The game is physical. And he has the body, he's got the tools, and I think he has the skills. And he still has things to work on, to improve on. So I'm starting to really buy back into Carter Knox. And, you know, I know he's just testing the water. You know, he still has the opportunity to return to school. And he is a little old for his class, you know, which, you know, I don't care too much about, but it does matter.
Yeah.
A lot of good players were old for their class. Thompson twins, Brandon Miller, you know, it's fine. But I'm buying in on Carter Knox. I you know, that St. John's game, he was really impactful. Texas Tech game, he was really good. You know, he's I think that he played in a great conference, and like, it started slow, but he really earned the trust of Cal towards the end of the year, and I thought he was really, really very good.
Corey, while you were riffing, I pulled up some of his stats, just because I wanted, you know, to get an idea of what it looked like statistically. I feel like eye test, though, Corey, like I love what you said at the end about the toughness, because that is something that really pops with him. He's Kevin Knox's brother, right?
Yes.
Is it brother? Yeah. Even aesthetically, he looks so different from Kevin Knox. Like, I feel like Kevin Knox is like, even now, is like all legs and arms. And I feel like Carter's a little bit different. He feels a lot sturdier than his brother did when he was in college. Yeah, where like Kevin felt very like long armed, very Mr. Fantastic ish. Which, you know, was part of the appeal even to him, and why we kind of
Totally
fell in love as Knicks fans. Well, that didn't go well for us.
That summer, you'll always have that summer league.
That summer league was electric, where all he did was run out and hit some threes. But with Carter, though, Corey, sorry, just to get back on track, like, I feel like the toughness with him really sticks out. As you mentioned, his ability to play a role. Some of the stats I was looking up, like 73% of his field goals came at the rim. That's pretty good, you know? And like, I like that he's like a hard-nosed guy that attacks the rim, and he's tough. He can finish through contact, with length, with athleticism. I feel like Corey, like it's interesting. And also there was another stat here that where like a lot of his shots came from like the corner, the left corner specifically. And like, I think like with Carter, I think in that season that he had for them, like, I do feel like, according to your point, I mean, sorry, in line with your point, he played a role, and he did a good job of it. And he was really physical, and his physicality really stuck out at the end, at the college level. And so if we're, once again, and this is similar to the McNeely talk in my mind, if different types of players, but we're kind of landing on Corey for both of these guys in our own respect, is that like we can see the projection with a guy like Carter Knox. Like, I think because of the measurables and the physicality that he plays with, the toughness that he plays with, and like the underrated, you know, feel and skill that he plays with, you can see it. Like, I totally understand why you're still on him. I'm actually remembering now some of the conversation that we had in the preseason and why we were so excited about him. But at the same time, correct me if I'm wrong, Corey, like, I feel like even when we did the preseason pod, we were a little bit worried about the roster that he was, you know, going to be joining, and what his role would look like, and how much of an opportunity he would get. And so I think with both guys, it's interesting, right? They ended up in contexts where maybe the contexts weren't like perfect for them to really show everything that they can do. But specifically to Carter Knox, like, I still, number one, I like the jumper, Corey, with him. Like, I actually am a believer in how it looks, and the mechanics of it all. And so I think he's going to be able to figure it out. It's compact. It's a pretty simple looking jumper, repeatable, good balance on it. So I'm a believer on his jumper. And so I'm right there with you. I actually thought you were going to go a completely different direction. So I was shocked to hear the name, but I get it. You know, we liked him preseason. And so if we liked them preseason, like, as long as they don't have like a terrible, horrific season, then how much should our opinion change? You know, so I get it. I like it, Corey. Good pick.
Yeah, 16 games from February 1st to the end of the season. He only had a 15% usage, so like very low, right? And that goes into the role he had and all the ball handlers that team had. 68% true shooting, 64 effective field goal, 54.6 free throw rate, shot 46.2% from three. So there's just, to me, a lot to build on. Seeing really how his play changed, and again, I think defensively he offers a lot too, and he's strong enough to handle that physicality. So he's not a guy that has gotten a ton of buzz, a ton of love, but I think his athleticism, his ability to make shots, his ability to attack the rim, two-way potential, I think he's somebody who I'm not willing to overthink. So, all right, who's your next guy?
Okay, straight vibes, straight, like, I just really like him. I feel like I've talked about him for a while. He actually kind of replaced another guy for me. So Corey, I'm sure you remember, like, really early on in the season, we talked about like Danny Wolf before the hype, and I'm not even trying to be like, oh, we were first, whatever. It's not that at all. It's just we did, like, we talked about Danny really early,
Yeah.
right? So he's actually not my pick though, because I felt like
Twist.
I know I liked Danny Wolf a lot, but it felt like everybody was just kind of piling on to the bandwagon, and like everyone suddenly loved him. And then I went to go see him play live against UCLA, and I'm on the floor with him, and I'm like watching him go through warm-ups. I'm like, taking photos and videos. I'm like, standing next to the guy, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I still like him, but let's watch the game. And then I'm watching the game, and he had like a million turnovers. And I'm like, like, I get it. He's not going to play this role in the NBA, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, you know what? Let me find another guy, right? Because it feels like everyone freaking loves Danny Wolf. So the other guy that I found was he's close friends with Victor Wembanyama. His name is Maxime Reynaud.
Okay, I had a feeling he was gonna be on your list.
Wow. Okay. Man, am I predictable? But okay.
No, I can just tell when you're excited about a guy.
Okay. I love that. I like Reynaud. Here's my point with him. I like that he's 7'1". And he's 7'1", but he doesn't feel 7'1". And I know for some people that could be a bad thing. Like, hey, if he's 7'1", he should be 7'1". But there's something about him that's very proportional, Corey, where he doesn't seem as tall as he actually is when you watch him on film.
The way he moves like a smaller guy.
Yes. And honestly, that's the main reason why I fell in love with Danny Wolf in the beginning. I was like, oh, this guy looks great. He's lost a lot of weight. He's moving really fluidly on the court. But then I found Maxime Reynaud, and I'm like, ooh, he's really productive. I mean, just going over his stats, Corey, 20 points, 10 rebounds, right? Just under 2 assists per game. Shooting splits 46.7, 34.7 from three, 77% from the free throw line. The 3-pointers, he shot just under 35%, but he was taking 5.5 of them per game, which I like for like a spacing center. I know he averaged only 1.7 assists per game, but he can pass the ball. You turn on the tape, and I'm like, I really like how he moves the ball, and he's got some flair to him. I don't know if that's a Euro thing. He's watching PSG. I hate PSG. They just beat my Arsenal this week in the Champions League. Go to hell. But Maxime Reynaud, excellent 7-footer, super skilled, was very productive in college basketball. I get his concerns, but this year he averaged over 2 stocks a game. And I'm like, I like that a lot. 1.4 blocks per game, 0.9 steals. Just the production with him, I really like. The skill set that you get from a 7-footer like that, I really like. I don't think he'll ever be a big-time rim protector. He's not a big-time athlete, but I think it's important that he was productive. I like that a lot, and that's something that I think sometimes can be overrated, but also sometimes we swing too far and then it gets underrated, right? He was extremely productive and a really good rebounder. If you look at the advanced stats, like his junior season and senior season, he was an incredible defensive rebounder. This past season, he was at 28.7% and overall was 18.8% in terms of rebounding percentage. I think that's something, like, I don't know, maybe I'm old and I'm telling everyone I've got gray hairs, but I like when my centers can rebound. I think it's a nice quality to have. Like, as a Knicks fan, I love that Karl Anthony Towns averaged as many rebounds that he did this year, and he, kind of gained a lot of the love and trust of Knicks fans because of that. And so with Reynaud, like, I just like that he's a skilled, legit 7-footer who can space and shoot the ball from outside. He's got some passing stuff to him. And you go, hello, in the modern NBA, if you can add a 7-footer to your roster that can do stuff with the ball in his hands, and is going to be tough on the boards, how could you not be excited? And so for me, Corey, I just love the production once again. I love the measurables. I love the skill set. I love the shooting. So I have Reynaud pretty damn high on my board, and I feel pretty good about it because I believe, I mean, look, look at, what's the guy in Boston's team? Oh my, I'm forgetting his name. He's a former Knicks center.
Luke Cornett.
Luke Cornett. Shame on you,
legend.
Albert.
Bulls
Yeah,
legend.
Bulls legend, Knicks legend. But Luke Cornett, look at the career that he's had, right? And he's become a productive member of a championship winning team. And I look at Maxime Reynaud, I'm like, I think he can do that and more, is kind of where my head is at. Of course, Cornett's a really good rim protector and stuff like that. But I'm a believer in Reynaud. I want to see how NBA teams view him and how much they value his skill set, blah, blah, blah. But I just think when you're that big and that skilled, that's worth a ton. And I think he's going to have the attention of NBA teams.
I have him as a first rounder. I think the skill set like that you broke down is just, it's very appealing. It's very interesting. There's a lot to work with. And if, you know, he's going to be that big as a floor spacer, that's really valuable. And look, Quentin Post is playing, you know, real minutes for the Golden State Warriors this year as a floor spacing center. And I think that Reynaud has a lot more shit to him off the bounce than Quentin Post did. So when you put all that into consideration, like, he is a guy that I think could be somebody who I think, maybe we are overthinking because he doesn't block as many shots as, you know, you really want him to. But offensively, I think he's just a really, really interesting dude. And when you see how he moves on the floor as fluidly as he does, you know, and I haven't seen him in person. Like, I don't know how big he really is. He looks massive, and seeing him move like that, there's a lot to be intrigued by. And like I said, we mocked him in like the 20s a few months ago, right? And it would not shock me if he goes somewhere around that range, because, you know, the dude is really talented and really productive. And he's, you know, he came from, I think he was a walk-on, you know, as a freshman. Like, I mean, there's a lot to be really intrigued by with Reynaud. So I like that pick. I was like, you know what? I think Albert's going to be, he's going to take him. And you know what? I was trying to go, you know, doing this exercise, going through, I was like, man, like, not a lot of centers in this class that you can really get excited about.
That's a great point.
You know, like legit centers. Yeah. You know, not like Janai Broom and like guys like legit, like, that's a big dude. Like, he is a center, right? Like, no question about it, he's a center. So I like that. I like that. Again, I think he's a worthy first round pick. Since you went big, I'm gonna go small. I'm gonna go with a guard.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go with my guy, Todd Pettiford.
Okay. Yes.
I'm rocking with Tahad. I had Tahad top 20 all year long.
Yeah.
I was definitely weary about it coming into the year because I was like, you never know with small guards. There's, you know, a stigma against them in general. But, you know, you never know with freshmen like him. And I did think that there was a chance, though, because Bruce Pearl lets small guards rock. He lets them get busy. And get busy, Tahad did. Like, I just think the kid is so electric, man. From the first time that I ever saw him when he was a junior in high school, and he was step backing and crossing Alex Sarr into oblivion and just decimating that entire loaded overtime elite team that has like multiple professional basketball players on it now that are playing in the NBA, a bunch of, you know, high level guys that are playing college basketball still, like, and Tahad Pettiford was the best player on the floor as a junior. I was like, there's something here. And like, yes, I know he's small. I know he's listed at 6 foot or 6'1" or whatever. I've sat down next to him. I've stood next to him. I know that he's probably not even the listed 6 feet tall, at least without shoes. But I also know that that kid could create space against anybody. He's got range out to the parking lot. He's fearless. And the thing that impressed me is that he did the Rob Dillingham thing where he was able to balance like him going and getting his own offense with taking care of the rock and making plays for others, having, had a I think 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. I think he's arguably the best off the bounce shot creator in the entire class. So yes, there are things that he has to work on. His finishing at the rim certainly needs finishing. Maxwell likes to say athletic guards sometimes struggle at the rim when they get to college, young athletic guards. I know that he's small, but like Tahad is a real deal athlete. He had 5 dunks this year, some big ones, some big time dunks. And when a guy like him, who's so quick, so much twitch, who is that athletic in high school, like finishing is going to be a little bit easy for him. I think he's shown flashes of like really intriguing touch finishing and whatnot. So it's going to be an adjustment, especially moving up a level again with him finishing at the rim for sure. Like definitely something that you have to, be honest about, but scores at all 3 levels, he's ambidextrous, loves getting, into his floaters with his right hand, has it out to the free throw line so he can play with the big. He's going to be able to kill the drop coverages. He's not afraid of the moment. He's tough. He plays winning basketball. He was a major cog on that Auburn Final Four team. So like, I love the kid's game. I think he competes defensively. He's great in the passing lanes. Of course, he's going to get mismatched at the next level. I know that it's hard for small guards to make it. Rob Dillingham, he's not playing a role right now for this Timberwolves team. This year, it's going to take time. But I think the thing that we overlook is that rookies don't play in the playoffs. So honestly, the idea of win now older prospects is something that I've kind of been like, I don't know if that's real or if it's just something we tell ourselves to convince ourselves that like, because we like this older guy, we're going to say he's a win now player. And I don't know if that's true. Like Baylor Shireman is not getting burned in Boston, like Tyler Kolek is not playing for the Knicks right now. So it's okay if Tahad doesn't play it a lot next year. But I think that he has the requisite athleticism and skill set to make it as a small guard. I really do. And he's a lefty. So, we have lefty bias here.
Yeah, Corey, and just really quickly, I love what a breakdown. Awesome, right? I thought you did a great job, but the one thing I want to add is he's a lefty, but his right hand finishing is awesome. He's a right hand dunker. He really likes dunking with that right hand. He can do some really cool, nifty finishes with that offhand. The athleticism is what it is. Like he's a very bouncy guard, and also not only is he bouncy, Corey, but he's aggressively bouncy. Like he's a guy that goes up there and he's like, I'm, as you mentioned, fearless, unafraid. He's ready to bang body. He's not scared or timid about really getting up there. Yeah, dude, he's got a character to him. He's got a vibe to him. And shoot it from outside, shiftiness. I get it, Corey. Like I totally get it. And also, like we have our types. Like we like what we like. And I think with you, Corey, like you've been high on him all season long. Like you have not relented in terms of how high you are on him. And so I love this pick for you. But overall, though, Corey, like I agree with you. Like he's got the strength that you're looking for. He's got to get stronger. I believe that, but he's tough. Like he's tough, even though he doesn't have his grown man strength yet. Super athletic, shifty, as we mentioned, just like a ball on the string, can do so many fun things. And he's got some flair to him too when he has a ball in his hands. Kind of like reminds you of like, some of those 90s guards that like had a lot of fun, and Rod Strickland, all those guys, So I like that. There's this like retro vibe to
tri-state
him,
area game.
Yeah. Sebastian Telfair.
Well,
we bring up his name a lot, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. He's one of Coney Island's finest. But no, I'm with you. I think he's a lot of fun, and I would have been shocked if you didn't pick him. So
Yeah. Well, sometimes we're both predictable. Before Albert gets into his next, my guy, let's take a minute to get everybody to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching, welcome. If you're listening to the podcast, we love you too. But right now, if you're watching live on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button. Albert, we are going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with the rest of our guys. Okay, we are back. Albert, you have chosen Max Reynaud and Liam McNeely for your first two guys. I chose Todd Pettiford and Carter Knox as my first two guys. Who is next up on your list?
Man, this is a really, really tough choice for me. Because honestly, Corey, we haven't really taken anyone from like the top-ish part of our board yet, which with good reason, right? We're trying to avoid, Cooper and Dylan or whatever. But I have one guy, I'm just gonna take him and let's have the conversation.
Let's do it.
Because I have him really high still, and a lot of people don't anymore. But Corey, I know you still like him too. So let's have the conversation. I have him fourth on my board. And recently when I submitted my board and I saw that I was the only one that had him that high, you know what, Corey? I'm human, and I started to look myself and I'm like, where are you missing on this, Albert? Are you an idiot? Is everyone just smart and you're dumb? What the hell's going on? But I want to talk about Yegor Demin, because my thing with Yegor is like, I don't want to give a long-winded explanation. Ready, Corey? He's a big wing, can pass the shit out of the ball, and it's like not normal passing. Like he's got some really high level feel and anticipation and accuracy and imagination and creativity. And I'm like, I want the 6'7" guy that can do that. And on top of that, Corey, I believe in his outside shot. Like, I actually think he's going to shoot the ball. Corey, you and I, we were on a call recently with, somebody, and they told us that, they saw him in the gym and he could not miss a jumper. Nah, I get it. He's in a gym setting, a warm-up setting, workout setting. I understand. But I'm a believer in the jumper, right? And beyond that, I just like really smart, intelligent basketball players that also have the measurables like he does. And I would like, my thing is, I'd rather be wrong taking a guy like that high than not take him and watch him be unbelievable. You get what I'm saying, Corey? Like, that makes sense, right? Like, for me, that's why I can't drop him any lower on my board, because his creativity and feel and skill set at that size, with me also being a believer in the outside jumper, I'm like, am I losing my mind? Like, how can we not be in love with a player like this? And I understand that maybe he didn't have the season that many thought that he would, but also, like, I don't know, like, he wasn't. Look, it's projection again, it's vibe again. I totally understand, but my thing with him is like, that level of passing, Corey, I don't think can be taught or created or developed in a lab. I think it's in you. I think you feel it. If we talk about like a soccer reference, right? Like Xavi Hernandez, who played for Barcelona back in the day, that was a part of that midfield trio with Iniesta and Sergio Busquets. Xavi always said, when I hit a pass, I always knew where that ball was going to go every single time. He was a freak. He was born that way. Right? It's different. And I feel like Yegor has a little bit of that to him. I think he's a very, very special offensive player, creator, and a guy that I feel like, look, Corey, if everything goes to shit and he's just a 6'7" wing that can shoot a little bit and can move the ball really well, I still think that's a valuable player. But for me, my imagination is with him and his imagination on the floor. I think you can hand him the keys to your offense and he's going to make magic happen. I think he's going to be an unbelievably gifted offensive player that's going to continue to grow into his frame and continue to grow with his outside shooting and scoring arsenal just overall. And so my thing is, I would much rather bet on a guy high in the draft and be wrong than to let him fall through and he goes to somebody else and becomes an unbelievable player, is where my head is at.
I'm with you, man. I am with you. 6'8", 6'9", the most gifted pick and roll passer that I can remember evaluating for, look, for as long as I've been doing this, and it's really just been like where I've actually put effort into this since like 2020. So obviously not super long. But just like the kid makes every read, he can jump pass. He can manipulate guys. He uses his eyes to trick guys. He can hit the pocket pass. He can hit the overhead pass. He can paint the corners. He can throw the lob. Like you said, there's a creativity, a flair to him. I'm with you. I think the shooting is going to come around. There are plenty of guys who have become better shooters in the league that I look at and go, man, his shot was way worse in college than Yegor's is. Yegor shot 10 threes per 100 possessions. That's like real deal. Like he's not afraid to get him up. Yep. So I look at, what he's going to do for your team, injecting a pacing, the ability to make guys feel comfortable knowing that if they cut, they're going to be found. If they run the floor, he's going to hit ahead. If they set a screen and they dive hard to the rim, that ball is going to come if the tag isn't there. I just believe in it. People question his ability to get downhill. He's not somebody who's just like dancing with the rock going ISO. Like, who cares? Okay, fine. Like, there's not many players I want to do that. I don't, that it's not super enjoyable. You see that there's sometimes a ceiling to that play style, no matter how great you are. You could have Luka Doncic and LeBron James on your team, and that play style can only get you so far if the other pieces aren't there. I'm okay with people setting ball screens for him and using screens to get downhill and create advantages, because he does get downhill. He does touch paint. I saw today somebody said he's not good with his left hand. I feel like a bunch of his dunks are with his left hand. I feel like he's very comfortable with his left hand. I'm still with you. Like, I'm just not willing to give up on a special skill. I'm not. And yeah, he shot 27% from three. He shot 69.5% from the free throw line. There's work to be done on the shot. He knows it. The team that's drafting him knows it. But you cannot find players that are his height that could pass like he can pass and has a jump shot where you're not like, you have to rework that. This is not Lonzo where you're like, all right, he's knocking down 40% of his threes, but that is not working at the next level. And then credit to Lonzo. He figured it out, right? And like he had to rework his shot. He worked really hard. And now he's a really good shooter in the league. It took him a while. And I actually think Lonzo is somebody that Yegor can emulate, where it's like Lonzo also is not a guy who breaks guys down off the bounce. He's also not a guy that is like getting to mid-range pull-ups. He's a guy who is more of a connective, like quick decision 0.5, like, but he can make any read in the book. He's just like not like spamming, dribbles to set that up. Like, I think Yegor, there's a path for him to play a similar role to Lonzo. Now, Lonzo's also an incredible defender, or was when, he was healthy. But I don't think Yegor's terrible there. I think he's pretty disruptive. And I think with strength and that size, I think he's going to be just fine. So if there's some kind of Lonzo-esque outcome for Yegor, I'm good taking that in the top 10. And I think that in most drafts, you probably are pretty good taking that at pick 4, at pick 5. So again, I totally get, the stats don't line up like you wish that they did. He definitely was, came out of the gates smoking hot and tailed off and had to deal with that. But like, I never watched him and went like, I'm just out on this kid. Yeah. I just don't care. I think he's going to be good. If my team took him, I think I'd be pretty happy with it. Like, I get that, a guy like Josh Giddey is not everyone's favorite guy, and there are some parallels there too as big creators, but like, I don't know. I feel like he's going to be much easier to fit off the ball than Giddey has been. So I think he's got more. It's just, there's a smoothness to his movements. The kinesthetics are just a little smoother than Giddey. I think his body's proportioned better than Giddey's is. So I don't know. I'm with you. I still love Yegor. He was going to be on my list, or he was on my list, but he was on my list. We're also going to do a 6-man, and I was going to be like, all right, let's see if he gets picked. I'll save him for later if he doesn't get picked, because I still love him too.
Man, that makes me feel great, Corey. Just because like the latest big board for me, like I really felt like, damn, I'm gonna have to make some decisions here as we're getting later and later in the game. And like what I mean by decisions, like you kind of start to kind of plant your flag on certain guys, and you're just like, I don't want to move off of them. And Yegor was the guy for me. Like I look, I'm a human being. I look at the other boards that get uploaded into that file that we're all sharing, and I'm like, oh, damn, he's like 18th on someone's board, and he's dropping on a lot of boards. And I'm like, damn, like, am I losing my mind? But I'm like, no, I just believe it. I think it's a healthy thing to continue to bet on elite skill sets. Like if you're a front office and you take bets on elite skill sets, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. And so with Yegor, if I was running a front office, it would be as simple as he has an elite skill set with a good NBA size and frame for an NBA wing of his age. That's a bet we have to take. And to the point about the left-handed stuff, Corey, like he had maybe his best dunk of the year on NC State, and that was a poster with his left hand. So just want to throw that in there. He had nice left-hand finishes. I really believe in the IQ and the flair and the creativity and all that stuff. So I feel great. And I think I'm just going to, I think he's set in my mind as a top 5 guy for my big board for the rest of the draft cycle. So,
yeah. And I love it. And look, if the shot doesn't come around, it doesn't come around. Right. Like, yeah. And that'll be an issue, and that'll, prevent him from being the type of player who reaches his ceiling that, we think he could be. But at the end of the day, I think if you have a developmental plan and a patience for him, and that's part of drafting guys, like you have to live with the flaws that they have and have a plan to develop on those flaws and then maximize their strength, and put them in positions to succeed. And the teams that do a really good job of doing that draft well and develop well and have success, and the teams who don't and are just throwing stuff around against the wall, then they tend to miss a lot and get stuck in mud. And sometimes those players catch on in their second stop. But I think Yegor is a first stop guy. I think he's going to figure out in the league. I think he's going to be one of those guys when we start getting NBA spacing, NBA level shooters and athletes, and we're just like, oh, so he's like one of the best passers in the league already, right? And I think people are going to be like, oh man, maybe we shouldn't have overthought it. Or, maybe he's just will never be able to touch the paint, and his defense will suck and his shot won't come around, and, people will play this back to us. But either way, I'm fine. I'm ready to live with that.
Love it.
I'm going to take my next guy, his pre-draft workout partner. I'm going to take Kobe Brea.
Wow.
Out of Kentucky. Yeah. I'm going to take the best shooter in the draft? Question mark? At listed 6'7", Kobe Brea has taken 400 plus threes in the last 2 seasons and has connected on 47% of them. This dude is lights freaking out. He's got great size, and I think people are like, all right, Kobe Brea, he's a good shooter. What else does he do? That dude could rock with the ball in his hand. He's in another New Yorker. Like, he's got New York wiggle, and like I think it's a really underrated aspect of his game in the fact that like he's not somebody that is just like running off movement or spotting up. Like, this is a dude who was like getting it done off the bounce, knocking down tough shots with hands in his face in a tough conference, and from anywhere on the court, like legit like logo range, not like the new logos that are, basically touching the 3-point line, like legit logo range, good frame, And I think if you get stuck looking at his stats and you're not watching the film, you're like, all right, really low assist rate. Although his turnover rate is basically non-existent. I think he was like a turnover percentage of like 5 or something crazy like that. I think he has 100 over his 5-year career. He had 105 turnovers. So like this dude doesn't turn the ball over. But if you look at some of the passes he made this year, you're like, yo, he can freaking pass the rock. I don't care what the assist percentage says. I don't care what his assist numbers are. If his role isn't to spam pick and rolls and be able to make these reads consistently, that's not his role. He's playing his role. His role is spacing the floor, using that gravity to make everybody else's life easy. But if you're telling me that this is a kid who can actually do that stuff too, like, dude, he made some sick reads. He can hit the corners. He manipulates guys. He's ball faking to send the tagger down to the dive man and then hitting the corner. He's freaking getting into the paint and then threading the needle to the corner, like backhand tennis style. He can really pass. He can really shoot. Now, what's the holdup, right? Okay, he doesn't generate a ton of looks at the rim. I don't know if he's going to be asked to do that a ton at the next level, but like, when he gets there, he can finish. I think that's something that he should make a more concerted effort to do, because I think if he's doing that and using that leverage to get to the rim, it's going to open up more of those passing opportunities, and it's also going to make him more valuable, because if he gets to the free throw line, he's shooting over 90% from the free throw line too. That's just easy money, but he can knock down shots in the mid range. So if you play in a deep drop, he's going to come off a screen, punish you there. If you're late chasing over, he's going to knock down shots from behind the line out of the ball screens. He's going to shoot off movement. He's going to space the floor. I think he can pass. His defense, he's not going to be disruptive, although I think he does have pretty good recovery tools as like a shot blocking wing. Not that I think that that's something that like translates like crazy for players like him at the next level, but I think his numbers were adequate. But I do think he can guard, even if he's not disruptive. And I think that, as long as you're getting in somebody's stuff, right in their shirt, and you can kind of force them into the spots that the coach is asking you to, like I think he did a good job when he was icing guys on the sidelines and like forcing them into Amari Williams. I thought he did a good job of that. He wasn't like getting handsy and, trying to like strip the balls and do all that. And I think he can improve on some of that stuff. But at the same time, if he's doing his job structurally in the defense, I can live with that too. And I just want to say, like, why isn't Kobe Brea potentially this year's Jalen Wells? Like, I think that is the kind of like player that could pop, like, and he's a better shooter than Jalen Wells is.
Yeah.
And I might even say he's got more to him off the bounce too, more creativity. So I think a smart team is going to take him, and they're going to get a steal with him, because shooters of his caliber don't come around often. Yeah. And I think shooting is really, really valuable. I think, shooters find a way. They play like Sam Merrill, Max Strus, like Cleveland is like picking these guys off. The old Miami Heat model of doing that too. Kobe's every bit the shooter of those kind of guys, and I think he's got underrated stuff to his game.
I just want to say, Corey, once again, and I said it before when I talked about Yekor, you're not doing anything wrong if you bet on an elite skill. It applies to Kobe too. Kobe is an elite shooter. Another name, Corey, to throw in there, Malik Beasley. Right. Look at how valuable he was. Tim Hardaway Jr., how valuable those two guys were to the Detroit Pistons, and what they were to offer with their spacing and what they were doing for them in transition, and defensively they were holding up, well enough. I think with Kobe, I get, and you know what, Corey, I want to piggyback off of what you said about his defense really quickly, just because I did some research on Kobe a little bit recently, and there were a couple of games where Coach Mark Pope actually like singled him out and was like, Kobe did a great job for us defensively. And he had some nights where he really brought it. and he did a really good job of, competing on that end of the floor, which once again, it's not going to be his marquee skill. It's not going to be the first thing that you talk about when you talk about Kobe Bryant, but it's an important thing, right? Especially if we're talking about a guy who is an elite shooter, then the next following questions are, as you mentioned, can he do anything else? And with Kobe, as you mentioned, Corey, he's a good passer, but also just once again, like there were some nights where, he really showed a lot on the defensive side of the ball as well, where, Coach Pope actually like singled him out. It was like Kobe was great for us tonight defensively, shifting the momentum with the way that he competed on that end of the floor. So I'm not trying to make the point that I think Kobe is going to be some, defensive, dynamo, some elite defensive player, but I think it's important that he competes on that end. A lot of the shooters that you mentioned, Corey, like they end up on NBA floors because they offer at least an adequate amount of all the other things. And if Kobe's going to be a guy who's going to compete on defense, can move the ball, can pass and he's going to be able to handle and pass a little bit more than people realize as well, then you're talking about an NBA rotation player and potentially a guy that can play in the playoffs. Because once again, he's got an elite skill set. And also he's not like a 6'2", 6'3" shooter. He's legitimately 6'7". So you get a guy who's, that tall and big and can do what he can do as a floor spacer. You have to be excited. So I love that pick, Corey. I'm right there with you.
All right. Who's your next guy?
Okay. So my team's going to look really weird. I'm just going to accept it at this point. But it's very true to what I look for in players. So I'm going to go with Will Riley.
Oh,
oh God, Will Riley. Okay, so my team is going to be weird as hell. I've got Will Riley, Yegor Demon, Leah McNeely, and Maxime Reynaud right now. But look, this is my hand. I like what I like, and I really like these wings that can shoot the ball, can handle, that can pass. Will Riley is a lot of fun. He's got some real herky-jerky stuff to him with his handle and how he can create off of ball screens. I like the jumper. You know what's funny, Corey? After seeing him at Hoop Summit last year, I was like not as high on him. And I was like, I don't like his frame. I thought he took a lot of bad shots. You could see some of the passing stuff, but he was just so skinny. You're just like, what is this going to look like? And then he had a good college basketball season.
Yeah.
He did. I like how he had good stretches. I like how he finished the season. He had a good game in the tournament. My thing with him is like, I just like the size. I like size and skill set. Whatever. It's me, Albert Gim. I like size and skill set. And with Will Riley, he's another size and skill set guy. He's a good athlete. He's obviously not a freak athlete, anything like that. I think he's an adequate athlete, but he's got some real passing stuff to him. He's got some flair. He can read the floor. I'm just building a team where they're going to have so much fun playing together. Is kind of what I'm building right now. And with Will Riley, it's just he was shooting the cover off the ball for stretches, and I actually thought his frame developed well in college too. Like he looks bigger and stronger than he did when we saw him at Hoop Summit. So I'm like, okay, trajectory wise, he's on the rise and going the right way. And it's I almost burst out laughing because Asian guy struggling with the letter R is hilarious. But no, I love Will Riley. I think he's going to be awesome. I really feel like they're just really fun player. And then if you start to project like what this looks like as he continues to grow into his frame and he, tightens up a couple things here and there, some of the decision making sometimes, the consistency sometimes can come and go. But overall, like if you look at the bare bones of the player, the foundation that you have with him, there's a lot to get excited about. So Will Riley's my pick. I like him a lot.
I like that. I like that pick.
Okay.
It is very on brand. The more I haven't heard, I feel like I haven't, we haven't discussed Will Riley a lot. Yeah. So I feel like that was a little out of the blue. But like, if you look at the guys that you like, Will Riley fits the mold for sure. And he was pretty bad at the Hoop Summit. One thing I feel like I've heard a lot of people say that like, oh, Will Riley, he's tall, long. And I just double checked because I remembered at Hoop Summit, he measured with a negative wingspan. but he's tall, so like his, he'll have enough length, but he's not going to be like 6'8" with like a 7-foot wingspan, unless Hoop Summit absolutely botched both of their measurements in the two different measurements that had come out. But like, I was very impressed with him coming out of the gates. I mean, he came out on fire for that Illinois team, and he didn't shoot the ball as consistently as you would have wished. He hit a rough patch, but it felt like he really came on later in the year. And I think if you just watch him shoot, you're like, all right, he's going to shoot it. He's going to get stronger. He can pass it. In a lot of ways, like it's like to me, he's always resembled like the play style of like is what maybe like the third Ball brother might play like kind of like a mix of Lonzo and LaMelo, where like he's kind of buckety, but he can also score. So like, a little bit better than the outcome of Leandro Ball, maybe without the major label deal, but like that to me, it's like if you look at him through the lens of like, this is what we wish LiAngelo played like. I think there's a really interesting player there, and Will Riley I think is really interesting. He's especially when you start thinking of him like 4 or 5 years down the line, and you're like, all right, what if he does get stronger? Now there's a chance that he doesn't. There's a chance that he's just kind of like Ousmane Dieng, where it's just like the idea of him is a lot more appealing than the actual player. But who knows? Maybe Ousmane Dieng is a second draft guy, and he's just not getting a ton of opportunity because that OKC team is an absolute unit, and he just isn't getting reps. But I think Will Riley is really intriguing in the same way that Ousmane Dieng was, is just like big guys who can shoot and pass theoretically. And like, let's see if a team can kind of put it all together for him. Because if they do, you're going to get a really good player.
Yep. And last thing, Corey, really quickly, I know we're going pretty long here, but with Will, like, I like how he carries himself on the floor. Like, he's also a good cutter. Like, he's not just like, if he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's not just going to stand in the corner and sulk and wait for the ball. Like, he had some really nice cuts, got some easy baskets. So I wanted to throw that in there too. Like, just like I like his vibe on the floor. So had to take him.
Yeah, I dig it. My next guy, I'm gonna go with. My last two guys are more of the lottery variety here. So I'm gonna go with Derek Queen as my second forward. And again, Derek Queen is a guy that we covered in the preseason that we really liked. I think on our first mock draft we had Derek Queen at 8, and people thought that was crazy. He's a guy that I had borderline top 5 coming into the year because I thought he was the best player that I saw on that Montverde team multiple times. The Montverde team that had Cooper Flagg on it. Now, I didn't think he was the best prospect on that team, but every time I saw him on the floor, I'm like, oh, who's the best guy? Derek Queen was the best guy. I felt that way almost watching him in the Jordan Brand game too, where he beat Cooper's team. So and honestly, when it came into the year, I was like, you know what? I think he has to be a 5 at the next level, and he's going to be one of these, kind of like weird guys that I actually think he's more of a 4 now. And he played with Asa at Montverde. He played with Julian Reese in Maryland. Like, he's always playing with like a non-traditional or like a more traditional big man, and he's managed to make it work. Like, imagine if he gets to play with a 5 who can really space the floor for him, and they're playing 5 out. Now he's able to use that insanely fun handle that he has at his size, with that awesome footwork that he has when he gets downhill. And then you're also able to mismatch him and use him in the post, and then you're using him in DHOs and as a passer. And like, I think his passing is going to pop more at the next level. And I've always said, I think his defense is a little underrated. I think, the worry is more about like, is he consistently going to bring it from a motor perspective more so than a skill issue? Because I think he's had some really, really impressive moments guarding out on the perimeter, switching onto guys who are really shifty and creative and just being able to wall them off. I think he struggles more a lot of times with like the guys who are going to overpower him near the rim. But, he's good at just like using his standing reach and trying to make that more difficult. And then like he just doesn't always have like the let me just go after the shot and try to swat it into the third row coming over from the weak side. Like he's pretty selective about that. So there are some holes in the defensive game, which is why I think that he is more of a 4 at this point than a 5, because, you know, he's not going to offer that, you know, really consistent rim pressure, but I don't really worry about him guarding out on the perimeter either. So like, I think for me, like, all right, he can definitely play some 5 and he's going to have to, you know, to be the most effective, because you want to be able to kind of go, I don't know, go smaller, go more skilled, you know, in that scenario. But I just love watching him play. He's 3rd on my board. I think he's going to shoot it. You know, he started getting him the shots up more in the tournament, like, and letting it fly a little bit more. And he started hitting more of those shots on small sample. But he's a good free throw shooter. He's comfortable taking dribble pull-ups in the mid-range. And that, I think that it looks smooth enough that he's going to extend it out to the 3-point line. And he's just going to be a really, really, really effective offensive player. So I just love Derek Queen, man. I love watching his game. I think he's so funky and so interesting. And I love that he wanted the ball in that moment in the tournament and like hit that tough shot. Like that's such a hard shot that he hit in the tournament.
Yeah.
Like it's so
The
tough,
body,
man.
Yeah.
Like
the body contortion. Yeah.
to stay balanced and kiss the ball that way. Like just, it was a special shot. And I think he's shown so like, it wasn't like a one-off. Like he's hit a ton of shots that are funky like that. Just a very advanced skill guy. And I love that he kind of takes things personal. Like I could tell you he's read things that people have written about him online, and he remembers that and kind of takes that. Like I like that he takes that stuff personal. Hopefully that translates, you know, to the court, and where he starts going, all right, if this person's saying this about me, I'm going to prove them wrong about that. But I love his game. I think he's going to be really effective. And I think there's a world in which he's the second best player in this entire draft.
Yeah. Yeah. But Corey, to his credit, a guy that's already worked on his body a ton.
Yes.
Really excited to see the development as he continues to work on that. A guy who, I mean, Corey, look, off of what you're saying, imagine the Spurs end up with Derek Queen. Just, you know,
be fun.
Let your brain absorb that, like putting a instinctual, creative, fun passer like Derek Queen with his skill set and what he can do with the Victor Wembanyama. You can start to dream about a lot of fun things, 4-5, 5-4 pick and rolls, the type of weird offensive twist that they can throw in there, where NBA teams are going to be like, how the hell is our front court going to guard this? And then they space it out with some of their shooters and wings. And then you've got a really incredible thing going on here, like him and Stephon Castle running pick and roll, and the things that they can do with Queen catching the ball in the short roll, and him coming downhill, and you know, he's coming up and low man's got to step up, and guess who's wide open at the rim for a lob? You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be incredible to see what that offense, that team might look like if you throw Derek Queen into the mix. And even with Sohan and some of the other guys they've got, like they can have a lot of fun with that roster. So I love this one for you, Corey, and a guy that you've been so high on all year long, and you have not wavered. So this once again, for our listeners who are just joining us, maybe even now, this is a my guys draft, and so you have to take Derek Queen. This is your guy. This
has been my guy for a while.
Yeah. I mean, this is not like a recent thing. You've been big on him for a long, long time, and you love him a lot. So I love it, Corey. And you know, it's funny. You mentioned the defense, Corey, and it's really interesting that you mentioned and the way that you talk about it, because it is the direct antithesis of how the internet views him as a defender. A lot of people say that he's a cone, you know, you're gonna walk right by him, he's gonna struggle to defend on the perimeter, blah blah blah. Is he gonna defend the rim? And I'm like, I don't see that at all either, Corey. Like, I really love what you said, because I do think he's a better defender than people are giving him credit for. He can move for a guy that his size, and once again, he's already taken big steps in terms of improving his physique and athleticism. What does this look like as he continues to do that, and he gets even more fit and leaner and all that stuff and gains more muscle? Like, I think so. Anyway, I love the pick. I love the player. And I think a lot of front offices are going to start to dream, like, what is this guy going to look like on our team with some of the offensive assets that we have? So I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, man. Like him on Portland would be fun. Him and Klingon in the front court. Like let's get funky, man. Let's let him run some stack pick and rolls. Let's let Denny set that screen and dive downhill, right? With Shaden popping out of it. Like, let's get funky.
Yeah. I love it.
All right. Who is the last guy in your My Guy starting five?
So at this point, F it, my team doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to ride the wave here.
I think you have a philosophy right here. You got big guys that are skilled, like size everywhere. Your smallest guy is Liam McNeely right now at like 6'7".
And I'm going to add to this, Corey. I don't give a F. I'm going to add Carter Bryant here to my team.
Okay. I love it.
Look, with what I have and the team that I'm building, and obviously I like what I like, adding a guy like Carter Bryant I've gotten incredible value here for the type of players that I like to grab him to be the last guy of my starting five. Big old wing, great NBA frame, was a defensive playmaker in college, a guy that could really get low in a stance for his size, could move his feet, get physical, stand people up with his chest, contest with his length and athleticism. I think he played a very small role for Arizona offensively. Not all his fault. I think he's going to be a really good shooter. I think he can handle the ball. I think he can attack the rim. I think offensively, he's got a lot more to offer than he was given the opportunity to show. Underrated passer as well. So he fits the mold of what I'm looking for, Corey, with my weirdo, skilled, big guy team. Like the fact that I get to run out a squad and Carter Bryant's going to go out there and just be like my defensive stopper, but also he's got skill set on the offensive end of the ball. And he fits in with the vibes of us, being selfless and can shoot from outside, but also, like we're versatile with all the, wing size that we have. So Carter Bryant's my pick. And he's a guy that, look, I get it. Once again, like he played on a weird Arizona roster and he had guys on his team that, were in year 12 of college and they felt like they need to take a million shots. But Carter Bryant is a very intriguing offensive player that will look, in my opinion, very different 5 years from now than what he showed in college or what he was allowed to show in college. And so for me, thinking projection, thinking about what I like, Carter Bryant has to be the final pick for my starting five.
And for, a guy whose favorite team employs somebody like OG Anunoby, it feels so fitting.
Yes.
OG Anunoby, his freshman season, had a usage rate of 17. He played 34 games, 14 minutes per game. Small role. He averaged 5 points, 2.6 rebounds, half assist, nearly a steal and a block. Next year, averaged 11 points, 5 rebounds, right? Played 16 games. I think he tear his ACL.
Yeah.
Maybe that was, right?
Pretty sure.
But it's clear, like you saw what he was going to, potentially become. Dude, Carter Bryant is huge. He's strong. He is long. He is physical. He's already shown he's capable of knocking down, spot up threes.
Yep.
There's some hidden off the bounce stuff to his game. He finishes at the rim. He's just a monster defensively on the wings. And you need wings, man. You need wings in the playoffs. You need strong wings. You need physical wings. Carter Bryant is a 16 game player.
Yes.
We watched the Brooklyn Nets scouting. I think it's called Scout, the documentary of their process for this draft. They released the first episode, and one of the topics that was broached is finding 82 game players versus 16 game players. And Carter Bryant, in my opinion, is going to be a 16 game player, meaning that this is a guy that is not going to get played off the floor in the playoffs. He's not going to be somebody that has to be played situationally. This is a guy that you're going to want on the floor for 35 minutes a night in round 2 in Boston on the road in the playoffs to match up with the dominant big wings in the league. And then is not going to be a zero, but also isn't going to need the ball in his hands and is going to do enough good things on the floor with his basic bare bones skill in a role similar to how he played at Arizona, that he is going to earn the trust of the coaching staff to where it's like, all right, we know what you're about. You now have a little bit more leash, a little more freedom to expand and grow your game because we know that you're capable of doing the safer stuff for us. That's Carter Bryant. This is a guy, like, we've been at No Ceilings, we've been really high on Carter Bryant for a couple of years. It's the first time that we saw him at the Nike Hoop Summit when he was a member of the Portland Generals squad as a junior in high school, playing against the Ron Holland, Bronny James, DJ Wagner team. And this kid was like, I mean, look, that team, I think they got ran off the floor against the U.S. team. It was Dylan Jones, I think he was on that squad. But they gave a hell of a fight to the world team, which, you know, is very rare for the scrimmage squad. And Carter Bryant was a big part of it. And then the game ended, and that dude just decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stay on the floor and get more work in. I know that there's 1,000 NBA executives in the building, and instead of doing the was it Braxton Mia thing where I'm going to leave, I'm going to be the last guy in the gym, first to leave. Carter Bryant was like, no, I'm going to be the first guy in the gym. I'm going to be the last to leave. I'm going to work on ball handling. I'm going to get shots up, and I'm going to make the most of my opportunity. And like, I don't know, it's not surprising to see a kid who has, you know, the kind of work ethic and mindset that he has have the kind of year that he had and be as effective as he was. And yeah, of course, as fans, we all wish that he played more because he was good and he should have. This year, I think Arizona would have been better off for it. But that kid can really hoop. And again, like, he's a 16-game player. He's the kind of player that you want in the playoffs. And I think ultimately he's going to be a top 10 pick. We got a lot of heat online when we mocked him at 9. But you look at every other outlet, like, there's a reason that we're all starting to get this guy into the top 10. It's because it's easy to see why, especially at this time of the year where, you know, we're considering the playoffs.
Yeah. No, Corey, I think this was like a couple months ago. I put out like a little compilation, and you know, Corey, like when I put out something like that, it means I really like the guy.
You really like the guy.
Yeah. And it was only defense. It was Carter Bryant on defense. That's it. And I'm an offensive guy, but I was like, this guy is so damn good as a defender. Like, I'm just in love. And as you mentioned, as a Knicks fan who gets to watch OG Anunoby play all the time and Mikal Bridges, you know, his defense in the playoffs, I'm like, give me Carter Bryant all day, every day. I would love him on my team. So yes, Corey, he's going to be awesome.
All right, my last guy, and you know, I'm picking this guy to kind of build a more functional team here. Okay. And I especially need this kind of size, considering, you know, I have Todd Pettiford as one of my guys. But I would be remiss to mention our guy Nick Clifford, who has been our guy since the year 2023 when we broke down film with him. We love Nick. We're super happy that it seems like everybody else has kind of caught on to the fact that that dude rocks. And I think that we're probably going to have some content with Nick soon. So be on the lookout for that. I thought about Con Knippel because I freaking love Con. He is in my top 5, might be moving into that 4 spot. I just think that dude is so damn good. And I think there is actually like a star outcome for him, despite what he looks like. And Albert in the preseason, I think, referring to him as farm strong. But that is not my pick.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Kamen Malawach as my last guy.
Nice.
Which has been a very, very contentious player amongst the No Ceilings group.
Yeah.
Dating back to the Hoop Summit last year, when I don't know why I felt like I was the only one who left impressed by him. Even though he didn't play great in the game, I just was like, in the practices, I was like, oh, this is what this looks like, when everybody was talking about Chomchi. And I was like, yeah, like he's not ready. Like Malawach, like is like the guy in this scenario. And I can't, like, he's so big, man. You cannot teach those measurements. You can't teach the physical skills. And you can't, like, dude, he shot 80% or something. Like he's so effective in the simplicities of the game. Like, I'm not worried about him knocking down 14 threes in a workout setting. I think that, he'll space the floor okay. Like, he'll shoot some down the line, like, cool. I think that'll be awesome, but it'll never be at the kind of volume. I don't think that, like, I don't say never, but like, it probably won't be at the volume where you're like, oh, this dude's a shooter. But like, I think he sets solid screens, like he makes contact, and he's big and strong, and he hits guys, and he creates separation for his guards. He's a massive lob threat. The connection that him and Knipple had on that Duke team was just beautiful to watch. Cooper had a great connection with him too. So, I imagine just seeing guys who were like forced to play more of a point guard role have to sit and, work with a guy who really needs, a creator to really thrive. And they did a great job of doing that. But imagine he's actually with an elite creator, point guard, passer at the next level, what that will look like for him and how much easier his life will be. I think that he's shown a lot of flashes of like modern defensive skill where he's able to cover a ton of ground and move his feet out on the perimeter and play and drop. And, I look at a guy like Mitchell Robinson, right? Going back to like 16-year players. Mitchell Robinson, his feet looked a little like on skates, like when the Tatum was attacking him right on that last possession. But when you're that big and that long, you have a little bit more rope and room for error, right? That you can recover and just kind of like be in the way enough that like OG can come over and help and then cut the drive off, and then he's going to turn around, and then Mikal Bridges is going to, block that and then throw the ball down the court as the Knicks go to victory in game 2. But like, I think he's like, if Mitchell Robinson can guard on the perimeter like that, like I think Malawach is going to be able to guard on the perimeter. Now, you look at a guy like him and you look at like, all right, so it's like around 7% block percentage. Like that is under the average of like what most NBA centers will typically be, but it's not like devastatingly under the average. Jared Allen was not a big block percentage guy, if I remember correctly, in the league or in college. But I also think that when you watch some of the games, he was just so big that when guys would dribble near him, like he was a rim intimidator as much as a rim protector, to where some guys just like weren't willing to, put shots up, and they'd kind of like dribble out of the situation and go backwards. And I think that's valuable too. I wish that he was like a real deal, like, Chet Victor shot blocker. That would make things a lot easier. But I just think like his eval is like pretty simple for me. And then I watched some like the Basketball Without Borders stuff, and like he looked really interesting in a few, like in some possessions in there where he was like pick and roll, dive to the rim, make a pass out of the short roll, like quick decision. Like I don't think he's going to be dicing guys up like Draymond out of the short roll, but like I think he'll figure it out enough. He's got a great group of people like around him, as mentorship, for the NBA that are supporting him in his journey. So I just think he's a pretty easy kid for me to bet on. And again, I think I'm at 6 right now. Like, and I feel pretty good about that in a draft where, I like a lot of players, but I don't feel like fully confident in all of them. Like, I think Malawach is a guy that I'm like, all right, this guy is going to be an NBA center. Like, this is not like, I don't think this ends up like James Wiseman.
Corey, I think the Mitchell Robinson comp is so interesting. And I know you weren't even like making it a comp; you're just bringing up like his lateral movement on the perimeter. But it's an interesting one because Mitchell, once again, as a Knicks fan, lifelong Knicks fan, one of the things with Mitchell Robinson is like, like he can get tested on the perimeter, but the length and athleticism that he has enables him and gives him the wiggle room to recover to guys and contest shots. And early on in his career, he was blocking a ton of threes, and that was like a really fun thing for him. But that also led to a trillion fouls, and so he really had to kind of bring that in and improve upon that. But another like a similarity is Mitchell Robinson also doesn't have the best hands. He's not the best at catching the ball, and yet he's still.
His hands have been pretty brutal in this series.
Yeah. Don't give him the ball is the situation. I think Malawak has better hands than Mitchell Robinson, but also like he doesn't have like the best hands either. But he's still. I mean, look at Mitchell Robinson. When Mitchell Robinson is healthy, he's an extremely productive NBA player. And a very valuable one as well. There's a reason why he's the longest tenured Knick. Considering all the things that this roster and this team has been through, he still remains because he's such a valuable player. And so with Malawak too, I think Malawak is an inch taller than Robinson. I also think at the same age, his body's more developed than Mitchell Robinson's was. And so if you consider all that, I totally get it, Corey. And so I've always had him pretty high as well, not as high as you have, but a guy that I'm super into because it goes back to what I said before. Like he doesn't have an elite skill set per se, but he has elite tools. And so if you can attach elite to a player, take a bet on that type of player. So
but he's got elite touch around the rim.
True. Okay. That is true. That is true.
He's not maybe, you're not giving him the ball in the post necessarily, but like, again, you go back to some of the other stuff before Duke and you're like, all right, well, when he has been given the ball on the block, like he's got that little like spin fade away, kind of like Joel Embiid, little kind of like 8-foot jumper. Like he's got some stuff to him, but yeah, like the Mitchell Robinson thing too. Like Mitchell Robinson, first of all, like when you see him in person, you're like, oh my God, he is freaking gigantic.
Yeah.
Also jarring because it feels like he's got chicken legs, but his upper body is so built, and Malawak is like a lot more proportionally developed physically. But yeah, I'm like, all right, if Mitchell Robinson is going to be able to play really valuable minutes in the playoffs, I'm fine betting that Malawak is going to be able to do it too. So look, he was on it. He was a part of that Duke team. He played a major role on that Duke team. Yeah. Like you're not going to attribute their success strictly to him, but you are going to be like, he was a major part of it. Like, like he's able to be a part of winning contests. He's still, I believe, somewhat new to the game. So he's just a guy, like, I get it. He's not perfect. There are things that you wish he could do, but if he was 6'10" instead of 7'2", he'd be a lot less interesting, but he's not. He's 7'2" with, I think, what he measures, 7'6" wingspan or something at the Hoop Summit. And, we'll see his official measurement soon. Like, that dude is interesting to me. And then you see like the shooting potential on top of it, which again, like you look at his free throw percentage and you look at his form and like, it's like, all right, if a team is willing to like let him shoot it, like I'm willing to buy in that he'll, space the floor at least adequately enough if teams give him space. I just think he's interesting. And like, I think, for our team, how it seems like most people feel about him, I'm willing to call him my guy because I'm a believer in that he's going to be a good NBA pro.
Yeah, no, that's 100% fair. Last thing, Mitchell Robinson, highest net rating for the 2-0 Knicks right now. So very impactful player. Oh boy. Okay.
All right.
Six man.
I think we've gone long enough. Maybe we could just list our 6 men.
Okay, I'll be really
your 6 man.
Really quick. Hugo Gonzalez.
Okay.
I think he's a competitive wing, athletic. That's it. I love him.
Yeah. You've been consistent with Hugo, and I think Hugo, really interesting too. Seriously, do yourself a favor if you haven't yet. Go look at the roster that Hugo plays on. For anybody to expect that he was actually going to get minutes on that team, it is crazy. Like, that's not how that works there. Nope. Seriously, like, read the amount of former NBA professional basketball players on that team. Did Dennis Smith Jr. end up on that team at one point? Like,
He did.
Right? Like, there's so many NBA dudes on that team. So I'm actually, Hugo's his range is going to be interesting to see because it's like, who expected him to? No one, like NBA teams are smart, you know. Like, it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up, for sure. All right, my sixth man, like I said, let's go Neek. Let's go Neek here. We'll call that our. You know, we've talked about Neek a ton, and again, we'll do some more in depth stuff on Neek. You know, fairly soon. So, all right, Albert, tell the people where they can find you on the World Wide Web.
You could find me at Alberto Gim on Twitter, X. Correcting myself, X. You can find me at GTG NBA is where you can find me on Instagram. Special shout out to Corey because Corey dad, and it's 11 p.m. on the East Coast right now, and he's podding. So special shout out to you.
Appreciate that. You know, put little Mace to bed, and then hit the pod. So, and I got a long day tomorrow because I am flying to go meet up in Los Angeles, California. Staying close to Venice Beach. I'm excited. Might watch a sunrise. Even
beautiful.
You know, I'm going to be on East Coast time. I'm going to be up early. All right. You can find me at Corey Tulaba. You can find all of our work at NoCeilingsNBA.com. Follow No Ceilings on social media at NoCeilingsNBA. We're going to have a lot of fun content, a lot of fun behind the scenes stuff from our weekend coming up. My trip to Los Angeles, Albert, and you know, he resides there, so not a trip for him, but fun time. And Nick will be there as well. So appreciate everybody in the chat for rocking with us. D. Steven, Dirty Dancer, Aaron A, Firefish, Brazil Popular, Stephen W. We appreciate everybody for rocking with us. Anybody else that we missed, BTB, you guys are the best. Rocking with all of the live shows that we do here. If you're on Spotify, make sure, or on the podcast feed, Spotify, Apple, rate, review, all that stuff, share. Man, we're getting close. The draft's going to sneak up on us, man. We're a month and a half. We got the lottery coming up, combine, really fun stuff ahead. So NoCeilingsNBA.com is where it's at. Until next time, we're out. Peace.